Good evening, church. When I was told about the topic that was to be spoken about this evening, which is beautiful women of the Bible, I was thinking to myself, how do we know whether they were beautiful or not? Because it depends on what the Bible says. Then I realized that there is beauty in the faith that women have. They show in the most impossible of situations. It is in these moments that they show their faith by knowing that their God is a God that can make the impossible possible. While reading the Bible, we come across many scenarios where God blesses a woman with a child. But the story that I'm going to be speaking about is about a particular woman which is special in itself. We're all familiar with the story of the miracle of the birth of John the Baptist. And the story can be found in Luke, the first chapter. And what the Bible tells us is John's mother, Elizabeth, was a woman who was well past her age for childbearing. And the story begins with Zechariah, Elizabeth's husband, going on his way to the temple in order to perform his priestly duties, because just so happened that it was his turn to do them. It is there in the temple that the angel Gabriel appears to him, and he brings with him the news that Elizabeth, his wife, is going to be pregnant and is to give birth to a son, who they are to name John. When Zechariah hears this, he becomes very doubtful. He questions God, and he says, how can me and my wife have a child at this age? Because they were both, as said, they were old, and they were past that age where it was physically possible. In turn, because of his doubt, he was rewarded, as we know, by becoming mute. And as we know, as the story goes on, that after he left the temple, he couldn't speak. And when he went back home, eventually his wife Elizabeth became pregnant. And we know that when she gave birth to their son was when Zechariah restored his speech. As was mentioned also, Elizabeth was well past that age for her to have children. So we know that Zechariah's response might have been a typical response for anyone. And it is because of our human minds that we believe that this situation would have been impossible, because our minds are limited to this earth. And when we see it that way, we think that something that is impossible can't be worked around. And that is where our faith plays a key role in how we look at these situations. We can look at the response that Elizabeth gives about her pregnancy, and it is recorded in Luke chapter 1, verse 25. "The Lord has done this for me," she said. "In these days he has shown his favor and taken away my disgrace among the people." Her response is so beautiful in the fact that she acknowledges that it was because of God that even she was possible to bear children in her old age. We also recognize that this is not the first time that the Bible talks about a woman becoming pregnant in her old age. We also know of Sarah, who also became pregnant when she was old, yet we can observe two different responses from what Elizabeth gave and what Sarah gave. Sarah, when she heard the news of her pregnancy, or that she was to be expecting a child, she laughed and she was skeptical. And then she even lied and said that she did not laugh. So we can safely assume that Elizabeth's response shows her faith in God because she believed in something that seemed impossible. And she also praised God for what he had done for her. And her faith is rewarded in the fact that she was blessed with not just any ordinary child, but with the forerunner for Christ himself. And also she said in her response that she was saved from her disgrace. And being barren is seen as a disgrace among Jews. Yet how could that be possible for this couple? For both her and her husband came from respectable families. The Bible even says that they were right before God and that they followed his commandments without any fault. So why could this blameless couple be seen having to suffer such a disgrace of not having children? Clearly, God was using this situation to show his own handiwork. He used it to show just how powerful he is. He worked around what seemed to be impossible, and he still does that even today. Even within our own church, many of our members may face situations that just seem impossible, and they can't get any way out of it, and they don't know how to face it. We have to remember that we have a God that can handle the situations that we face. There's one quote that I often come across by Owen Orr, and it says, "Don't tell God how big your problem is. Tell your problem how big God is." And that is what we as children of God have to do. We're fortunate enough to serve a God that is powerful. And he's an all-powerful God. And we sometimes may forget that. But we must constantly remind ourselves that God is powerful. He'll take our situations and he'll take care of it. And we don't have to worry about anything. So now we can take a step back and focus once again what the theme for this week was: beautiful women of the Bible. We have heard it being said that beauty is always skin deep. It may vanish as we grow older, but we can thank God that he made us beautiful on the inside, and it is that beauty that reflects on our continuous faith and trust in him, even when the situation seems impossible. Thank you.